Hey everyone, thank you for joining me and tuning in. This is video 2 of a documentation video series regarding the 2022 Beta 300RR. If you haven't watched video 1, I recommend that you do. That goes over all the options and everything that comes included with the point of sale when you buy the 2022 Beta 300RR Race Edition. So if you watch that video, you already have a basic idea of what this bike comes with. Now, video 2 is going to be my personal experience with the machine through the break-in period. And then video 3 will be my dislikes and some diagnostic and troubleshooting information that will go along with this bike for, rideability, longer durability, and also some added on protection that we're going to go into it. And then we'll go into some fine tuning as the weather gets better and we have all the options in the break-in period now already passed. So let's get into it. So I always feel that if you're going to give a good review about something, you need to know a little more about the reviewer. You need to know what the bias of that person is. What's their direct interest? Are they objective? Are they adaptive to different machines? And what's their experience with that? So I just want to let you know, I've been riding bikes since I was 5 years old. I'm now currently almost 50. I've been riding for a lot of years. I've raced different types of racing. I've done motocross. I've recently started doing some hare scrambles. And my technical background goes all the way back to my father. My father was a machinist by trade. He was an off-road enthusiast and he loved off-road riding bikes. So at the end of the day, his mechanical background not only helped me, but I also progressed and I went to school. I got an electrical engineering degree. I actually got certified with automotives and I got power sport certified as well. I've been working on dirt bikes and four wheels and ATVs and cars now for well over 35 years combined experience, and I've been riding for almost over 40 years. So that's my basic background that I have to offer. So let's get into what I love about this bike, and hopefully any of the feelings that I have for this bike, they might be a form, fit, and function for you. You may agree, you may disagree, but that's okay. I'm just going to give you my side and how I feel about this compared to my riding experience in the past. So let's get started. The one thing I love about this bike is the suspension. I've never been a huge suspension guy until I've ridden numerous bikes over the last couple of years. Bikes that have had not only just out of the box, but also thousands of dollars of upgrades. Now, granted, those upgrades on the suspension are usually specific to the person that they were engineered for. And unfortunately, I've been really disappointed. Even some of the bikes that we've owned, a lot of the bikes that I've serviced, a lot of the bikes that went to some of the high-end suspension component companies, I've actually been very, very disappointed with that. But one of the things I can tell you is that the beta that comes with the KYB AOS closed cartridge system, they're very easy to service and they're extremely reliable. And the adjustability is just spot on. You definitely notice it just making some minor adjustments on the suspension. And I've always loved that KYB fork. And if that is matched to a very proper geometrical engineered ergonomic bike, it's going to work amazing. And I must say, after riding this bike, it works great. With just some minor couple of clicks adjustments, the suspension feels phenomenal. Only with a few hours of riding it, I am so excited. I can't wait to put this on a track, actually. I feel that this suspension is kind of like a soft motocross suspension. That's the way that I can kind of describe the dampening, which is going to be absolutely perfect for some of the fast, hare scramble, woods riding, and endurocross type riding as well. The, Beta actually adjusted the dampening, the valving inside this KYB fork and matched it with that rear shock. And I feel for my weight, in my size, I'm 6'2", 195 pounds. So far, the bike feels amazing. I mean, I didn't even get an opportunity to actually even set the sag in this machine yet, which I am very particular about doing. But since I had such limited time to ride it, especially because it just came out, it was getting colder out, our weather's been kind of fickle here in New England, and I just wanted to ride the bike and get a good feel for it and then make those adjustments afterwards. So I kind of didn't even do a pre-setup, and so far I've been very impressed about the bike. Now, the suspension, excellent. I can't wait. It's not even broken in yet, and the suspension already feels great. And I ride a lot of bikes, and some of them feel wonky, especially the ones that have been sent out. And then you go into the brakes, right? The brakes are amazing. The Nissan brakes are very, very sensitive. They've already been bedded in, and they work absolutely amazing. So I'm very happy with the brakes as well. Now let's go into the power. The engine power, I haven't even touched the power valve. I never even adjusted the clutch yet. And actually, the clutch has been fantastic. It feathers out perfect. Now, I haven't pushed this bike because it just finished its braking period. And to go past 3/4 of the throttle, that would be kind of, foolish. So it's still in that braking period, but the clutch, I haven't even adjusted it. Never needed to yet. And obviously it's a new bike, so we're not going to bleed it anytime soon. We haven't changed the gear oil yet, but that's coming now because we just broke in the bike. So, the power curve of the engine's been great. The carburation, the jetting has been spot on for our area. We are 1,000 feet above sea level, so we ride between 200 and 900 feet above sea level because we're in our tri-state area. We don't hit above that mark. So we're between 200 and 900, right? So at the end of the day, we don't need one of the aftermarket carburetor variants like Electron or a Smart Carb because we don't hit those type of high elevations like some people would out west or out in the mountains. So the Kian 36 is pretty spot on, and we've had multiple bikes in the past, plus I service them all the time. They're very easy to tune and adjust, especially for ambient weather. And I mean, you basically just adjust the S screw, maybe the pilot screw, and just change the clip, when we get extreme weather changes. But even then, the carburetor performs perfect. And so far, the carburation has been spot on. The engine runs super smooth. Now, I know the carburation is a touch rich, and that's fine because it's still braking in anyways, and it's super cold out at the moment. It's been no warmer than 45 degrees Fahrenheit here. So the jetting for us has been excellent. The bike just starts up super fast, super crisp. I wish I could take it outside, but it's literally like 2 degrees out right now, even though it's sunny. So the engine power's been great, carburetion's been great, suspension's been awesome, the brakes feel great. Now, let's get down to the form, fit, and feel. You can have a powerful bike with a great suspension, but if it doesn't feel like a great bike, but I can tell you, this bike is awesome. It feels absolutely amazing. The ergonomics make me feel like I'm riding a KTM 150 with a 300 power torque. And the torque is smooth from the engine. I don't want something super abrupt that's going to rip my arms off, where I got to put a throttle tamer or something like that on there. This bike has actually been running super, super smooth. And again, we're just in the break-in period. I can't wait to actually, mix it 50-1, throw some half and half race gas in it, make an adjustment to the power valve, maybe lean out the pilot a little bit, and adjust the needle clip. That's all I'm looking to do, and just make some suspension settings now that we're going to be able to get a little more aggressive on this machine. But ergonomically, this bike feels great. Now, I know most bikes just look all the same, but this bike has a different feel. The KTM that's next to it, I mean, these things ride night and day. That's a 300SX, and compared to the Beta, this is amazing. I mean, I just rode an XC the other day, and the Beta just runs fantastic. I mean, it's just nice and smooth. I love the electric start. I love that it came with the switches. I mean, I'm not going to be using these in the near future, but if I do decide to do an enduro or a turkey run, I'm looking at the schedule right now, I'm going to need these. So, and it's great. It's got the little horn. So that way I don't have to rev my engine just to pass somebody at a hair scramble. I love that it's got the changeable map and it's right here. Some of the older KTMs, Huskies, you have a plug underneath the gas tank. At least you got the controllability here. And the LED, you can identify it, which is great. I love that the steering is adjustable. So depending on my riding, I can make a quick adjustment. I mean, there's a multi-point adjustment here in the steering stem. So I can move this forward or back in multiple different increments. And it's so easy to do. I don't have to rip the pad off. Look at the bolts they're all marked in yellow because they were marked when they were torqued. And it works out great. I love that it's got the odometer. It beats buying a Trail Tech in the moment, and it shows the speed, the odometer, and everything, which is great. Hours of operation, electric start. I mean, it came with a Domino throttle. They're pretty much one of the best ones out there. 2.5 gallon tank. That's always nice. It's got the extended extra capacity radiators. It's got the fan switch in case you want to add the fan. I love that the carburetor is easy to get to. Speaking of carburation, I mean, you take a carburetor off of some of the KTM Husqvarna variants, the booty is plastic. You can't get the carburetor out. You literally got to detach the subframe, kick it back up like a scorpion just to get the carburetor out. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I mean, sometimes you can turn it so you can mess with the jetting, but there's not a lot of room to get to the needle, especially on the KTMs. But this one, there's a ton of room to get in there and get the screws off, get that out so I can just change the clip. So that's really easy. I love something that's easy to service. I mean, it's like working on a Toyota, So, I mean, it's very easy to get to everything. Look at everything's exposed, and the hoses aren't rubbing on the engine. I get a lot of those. I love the color scheme they gave with it. I love the slender seat. I wanted the wider, seat concepts type seat, and then I changed my mind. I actually like this better now. And I love the way the ergonomics just flare out right. I mean, I'm 6'2", 195. I mean, it's like the bike is made for me. I fit perfect on it. I also love the handles. They have these composite handles built in underneath the fender. And I can tell you, if you want to whip this thing and do a 180 with it and just switch it back, you just lean into it with your hip, grab that baby, and just do a quick pivot turn to the side, and the whole bike will turn 180 degrees. It's a little harder on our other bikes. We used to have to put straps on them. We have the seat straps. This one had a handle on the side. We just took it off recently, but the ergonomics is just not right. The fender gets in the way, and the fender's not that, it's rigid, but you can't get your fingers in all the way. Look at that. Look at my fingertips as far as I can get underneath the fender. And if I grab anything else, I'll break the fender off. See that? Watch, I'm just wrenching the fender, right? Can't do that with this one. It's solid. It's really good. Quiet. This bike is quiet. You drive this thing 50 to 75 feet away from you and go around a corner, around a tree, sound disappears. If you're just putting around, driving normal, the bike just quiet. My other bikes, not that quiet. I couldn't believe this when we test rode this at the facility, and then we rode around the yard. Just amazingly just quiet, which is great because everybody around here is getting so triggered about, noise pollution, and they're just finding reasons just to complain and whine, and especially being on the trail. This thing is just super quiet. I mean, we literally bought electric bikes for that reason. We have a whole slew of electric bikes for the family, specifically so no one hears us when we ride certain places. So when we ride our local woods, this is much, much quieter. And that's another reason I love the bike. I'm to the point right now at my age, and usually I do, an aftermarket exhaust, but with the performance range of the bike so far, I don't really need to. And I'd rather have it quiet. I'm at that point, I don't need to hear the power and torque of the engine. I mean, I've had crazy bikes like CR500s and KX250s. I don't need to hear it. I want to feel it. That's all I want. I want to feel smooth power and torque. I don't need to hear it, and I don't need everybody else to hear it. So I'm very, very happy and appreciative this bike is quiet. Does it stick out a little further than it probably should? Yeah. Does it bother me? No. Might bother you. Doesn't bother me. I went into the brakes. The pegs that come with it are really good. I mean, I got size 13, and my Alpine Star Techs, they fit on that perfectly, and they grip in really, really well. The brake is a little shorter than some of the variants I've been driving. So usually the brake pedal's more out here. This one's a little shorter. I've been able to tap, especially on wheelies, and yeah, did a double, hit the brake real quick just to get the nose down. Yeah, it worked out great. I really like that. Like I said, the suspension's supple, the power of the engine's nice and smooth and transitional. The brakes are perfect. It's quiet. I love the ergonomics. It's kind of what I was looking for. I wanted that KTM 150 feel, but the torque of at least a minimum of a 250 or a 300, but I didn't want my arms being ripped out of the sockets either. I wanted to have something that was rideability, controllability, and I believe I found it. And so far, the bike has met all my expectations. I got to be honest with you. I'm very, very happy with this. I ride a lot of bikes, service a lot of bikes, and I'm not oriented to one or the other. I love Japanese bikes, but I love the feel of some of the European bikes, and that's why I service everything. So this bike is really, it's met my expectations. There was a point in time there I was a little nervous because I've only ridden one of these once. But now that I've ridden this compared to everything I've ever ridden, Husqvarna KTMs, different versions of them, different sizes of them, Kawasaki's 4-strokes, a lot of the KX, 250Fs, and I've tried multiple of my friends' bikes recently just to get a better feel, just be objective, because sometimes you get used to one product and you start to get biased. And I didn't want to be biased. I wanted to see what was out there, and I drive my customers' bikes all the time because they come in for electrical and diagnostic issues constantly. And that's one of the reasons why, the biggest reason, if we will, and we're going to be honest with each other, why I love this bike. There's no oil injection. You can get it with a regular 300RR, but if you get some of the bikes, I don't want to get too name calling, but a lot of the diagnostic issues I'm running into with probably 85% of the bikes that I'm running into right now currently, and these are late model bikes, is oil injection, either fouling plugs or seizing the engines or blowing crank bearings or the ring lands coming apart. Another problem is the fuel injection systems. I'll get a bike in that's just not running right, and it's literally spin the wheel diagnostics. It's gotten to the point where it's like, okay, what could it be now? I mean, we're literally just changing parts sometimes, not because we're not properly diagnosing it. It's because if a bike has 18 hours on it, does it need a crank pressure sensor? Does it need an ambient pressure sensor? Does it need an orifice fuel line filter? Does it need the premix oil screen, replaced? Does it need to be flushed out or cleaned? Does it need a fuel pump? Do I need to replace the petcock? I mean, are we having injector issues? Do we have to upgrade the injectors? Do we have to replace the modules? Do we have to replace the head? It's crazy. I got to be honest with you. I mean, if you're in the industry and you're working around some of these machines, and I'm not talking about the betas, I'm talking about some of the other variants out there, the fuel injected ones, trust me, having a bike like this with that PWK 36 and no oil injection, trust me, it'll be so worth it, because when you start running into those problems and you go down that rabbit hole, you will be so frustrated. I've met so many customers that were just so upset and they can't believe they dropped 12 grand, 13 grand on these bikes, and they're nothing but problems, and half of them aren't even being warranted. So that's the main reason why I love this bike. It doesn't have any of that stuff. It's simpler. I love it. It goes back to the basics. It's like jumping on a 2005 KDX 220 or 200 and getting the feel of like a KTM 150, but yet this is actually way better than that. But yet at least I got the simplicity of that. So if anything goes wrong, or if I have any diagnostic issue, I do this for a living. I don't need to be diagnosed with my own bike. I don't have the time. I definitely don't have the time. I just want to ride. So one of the largest reasons why I love this bike. I mean, they did a great job with the race edition. They put some nice features between the skid plate and the hand guards, and they got a nice looking headlight. Looks very ergonomic. The graphic scheme and the colors are just absolutely awesome. The last hair scramble I went to, it was a sea of white and orange, and there was no real red, and there was definitely not a lot of blue, just a few. And I wanted something a little different. I felt like I just blended in with the bunch, and I feel right now I've made the best decision ever. I think Beta really went all out when they made this bike. I know it was a late release. It literally just came out, late December of 2021. It's only been like a month and a half since we've had the bike. So now we're to the point where I am so excited about doing some of the add-ons of this bike, making it dependable, and really pushing it to its limits. And that's what's next. So I feel that this bike is a perfect fit for my form, fit, and function, my experience, and my size. So at 195, 6'2", this bike feels amazing. I don't even think I'm going to be springing it, but I'm still kind of breaking it in. But we'll see, and we'll see where we are in the stroke. I mean, and once we set the sag and so forth. But right now, it's met all my expectations, and I'm extremely happy. I hope everybody enjoys this and got something from it. The next video is going to be some of the things I'm going to change, some of the diagnostic troubleshooting issues, also some of the things I dislike. We're just going to be honest, can't be biased, so we're going to go all out on this. So I hope it helps people. I hope everybody's having a great day. Keep chasing excellence, and take care.